Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome to another episode where I'll be interviewing my friend Tony Javier, real estate investor and involved in a lot of other exciting things as well. Welcome to the episode, Tony.
Thanks for having me, man. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Well, cool, man. So today, we're just going to keep it pretty loose and free, and it's just to highlight you, just to talk about you.
That's why I came. I wanted to talk about me. You know?
Just want to talk about you. Yeah, that's a good lesson I learned from. I think it was my dad told me, if you want someone to like you, just ask them questions about themselves.
Oh, totally.
That's one of the.
That's what selling is, really.
That's what selling is. You just have them talk about themselves, feel real good, and they'll walk away be like, "Wow, that Dean was a really cool guy," and you were just talking about yourself the whole time.
Absolutely, totally.
So yeah, Tony, we're friends here in San Diego. We've got a lot of battles on the pickleball court, and Tony's been influential to me in my real estate investing career as well, as he's helped kind of push and encourage me in more than one way. So he's kind of helped me to encourage myself to get out of my own way when it comes to scaling the business. I might be good at a certain thing, but if I really want to create a business that runs for me rather than me running for the business, you've really helped me in that area.
That's the first time you've told me that. Dude.
I know. I want to see the real live tears on the episode.
We just had a moment.
We did.
Wow.
And then obviously TV. We'll dive into TV today to talk more about that. But so let's dive into it, man. So let's talk about who Tony Javier is.
You about called me Tanya.
I almost called you Tanya. That's your that's your other name for the weekend. So tell us, how'd you get into real estate investing, man? What were you doing before? How did you find it?
Yeah, so 2001, I was waiting tables in college, and I can't remember specifically what happened, but I'm pretty sure it was late at night. I couldn't sleep. I don't know, something happened. And I was watching TV, infomercial came on, and I can't remember if it was the first time I saw it, or I think I'd seen it a few times before, but then when I saw it that last time, it just clicked. Carlton Sheets, no down payment system, talked about or had clients or customers on talking about the results. Like someone would come on and be like, yeah, over the last 3 years I've accumulated 30 properties, I'm making $5,000 a month passively and have $500,000 net worth, whatever it was. And it would just talk about all these testimonials and how you can buy no properties with no money down. So bought the course, $200, got it in a binder. And this was so long ago that it just had been converted from cassette tapes over to CDs, right?
Fancy.
Yeah. So I got the CDs, put them in my probably Discman or whatever it was, and just got infatuated with it. So that was April of 2001. And then 5 months later, I had bought my first property. So September.
You found this while you were in college still?
Yeah, it's college waiting tables. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's funny because I used to buy so much stuff on TV. Mm-hmm. Like there's I remember one specifically. I'm sure they only made like 2 of them, and I bought one of them. What was it? It was a pan, and it had a cover on it, and then it had a rack, and then you put water in it. It would steam the vegetables.
Oh yeah.
Steam, I don't know, it was called something.
I feel like I've seen that.
But anyway, I don't know why I remember that, but I used to buy all kinds of random stuff.
Is that
like
one really super animated guy with like a big smile and like he just
probably
was in his kitchen cooking the hell out of
Probably,
stuff?
yeah. It looks sexy and if you call now, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd buy all kinds of random stuff. But this, I was like, okay, like I was going to school for accounting and I wanted to be an accountant. I'm like, I'm so glad. Like there's no way I would have been an accountant, but... So that's how I got my first taste of real estate. First year I bought, first full year of like really getting after it. I think I bought like 10 properties. I was burring at that time. So burring, for those you don't know, is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe an R missing, but
no, you got it.
But yeah, I was doing BRRRR before anybody knew what BRRRR was. So I've had a friend who had some money. I told him I was in real estate, and he's like, "Hey, I've got $50,000 that I inherited." I'm like, cool, let's go in. Let's buy some properties. So we went in 50-50. We'd take that 50 grand, paid cash 20 grand for a house, put 30 into it, refinance it, get that money out. We'd have 30 grand of equity in the property and cash flow, and did that 10 times, and we ended up dissolving the partnership. I took the properties and he got his money back. That's a whole nother story.
Sure.
First taste of doing business with a friend and not have anything in writing.
That's tricky.
Right? Very tricky. So attorneys got involved and all kinds of stuff. But he apologized because he, anyway.
Got a little too excited.
Yeah, his dad got in his head of like, hey, you're putting the money in. Why don't you ask for more of the business?
Yeah.
And we didn't have anything in writing. So
Right.
that's how the not scuffle started, but the whole thing back and forth.
That's usually how it starts. Someone's wanting a little more, and then it goes a little sideways.
Yeah, I've had a few partnerships go that way, and I'm not saying I was perfect in any of them, but like it typically it was like we agreed on something, things went better than we thought it was going to. They wanted more.
That's interesting because partnerships. I've had a partner I had a partner start to form after the first year of being in business, and it happened very naturally, organically. We didn't even formalize an LLC for probably a good year and a half, 2 years, just again feeling it out. And partnerships are tricky because there's certain periods of time in which someone might be doing more than the other, right? Do we still do 50-50? Well, that's where some people can get in their head too much instead of having that longer term vision, and can get pretty tricky.
Yeah, you got to be on the same page, and you have to find someone with good moral. I mean, there's so many different things you have to have that line up. And so my sister is not my business partner, but I kind of treat her like one because she runs the business. She's been with me 11 years now. So like her in the way that she does
That's
stuff.
interesting too. You said you've learned a lesson of doing business with friends. Well, you're doing business with family now too.
Right.
Or you have been.
Well, that's different.
Can be different.
Well, it could be worse. It can
make it even worse.
Yeah.
Or it can make it even better.
But again, it's not necessarily whether they're family, friends. It doesn't matter what it is. It's really making sure the person has the right morals, has the same vision or similar vision you do. I mean, there's just things that have to be lined up.
Their attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Attitude. The first one, it was a mental health issue as well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to get into that, but so many things have to line up. But it's great because, I mean, you have a partner now that it seems like it's working really well. And you guys...
Honestly, I got so lucky because we've had so many different things happen in our business. Like our first handful of flips, first couple, we failed miserably. Mm-hmm. Like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. We did them out of state, bad contractors, bad comps. We got our ass kicked.
And that's when you realize what your partner's made out of, right there.
Right, and it was probably more on his side because I was fresh. I was just getting started and didn't have as much money as he did, nor the experience. So it was more of a test like, hey, is this guy going to hang around? And so and we've had amazing, success. We've also gotten the crap kicked out of us several times, and we've never pointed fingers. And that's pretty rare. Mm-hmm. It's probably pretty rare. We've never had a heated argument. We've got it on each other's nerves probably a couple times, but like those haven't tipped the Richter scale at all. Like we might sense being annoyed with each other or just annoyed in general, but we've kept it super professional. We work so well together. We're just focused on winning and doing as best as we can for, our employees and stuff like that. So been very, very, very fortunate.
Yeah, totally. So it's over the last 20 years. So now it's 21 years now that we're 2022. So I've been in business 21 years now. I had several partnerships, several ups and downs, but over the last 20 some years, we've been able to flip close to 1,000 houses, which has been pretty cool.
It's insane, yeah.
And the reason I say close to 1,000 is because we switched our books in like 2008. And so
don't know what happened before then.
So yeah, like all of the properties that we had in the books just, disappeared. So just rounding, we're like probably between 900 and 1,000 houses. But anyway, beside the point. So I've been through a lot. I mean, people are like, man, that's great. That's awesome. But this, like people don't know what it takes to get there.
Dude,
because I've wanted to quit many times.
Now there's some rare people that by the grace of God just have gone unscathed. But if you're in business long enough and you're pushing the limits, like you're trying to succeed instead of avoid every little problem that could happen. Like if you're trying to push the limits and you're trying to have breakthrough moments, you're going to have some missteps. And there's going to be some that are things that you could have avoided, right? That were your own mistakes. And there's going to be other circumstances that there was no way to avoid, right? They were all circumstantial or timing, right? I feel pretty fortunate that timing I got started in 2013, it was just by chance that the market was going up, And so for me, it was a timing thing that I was fortunate, but still got the crap beat out of me several times.
But you know what? If you interview billionaires and people that are highly successful, the ones that really tell you the truth will say there was some luck in it.
Oh, 100%.
Like Mark Cuban, when he sold his company, like if he would have sold it, I think it was like a month or two later, it would have been worth nothing.
That's crazy.
But he sold it, and it was, he made like what, $3 billion.
It was during the .com boom,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, busted like. It was within like a few months after it busted. It would have been worth pretty much nothing.
Wow.
So he sold at the right time. So things like that, it is timing for sure. Just like the TV program that we have right now, I feel like it's perfect timing because, we're showing real estate investors how to get on TV. The texting and cold calling has been really popular, but it's getting really regulated and very competitive.
Yeah.
So we came out with something that, not many real estate investors are doing, and timing's worked out, and we're helping a lot of clients throughout the country. So, what it comes down to is, there's a lot of things you're going to you're going to have to go through. You just got to push through it, because there's always something better on the other side. When you get kicked in the teeth, there's always something better on the other side. I've
had, a handful of nights of laying in bed with my heart pounding because of probably the real root word to get to is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like being scared. And that's a real thing, And
it's interesting because I started experiencing that pretty early in my career, and I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that thought?
No, I don't think I ever did have the feeling like I was the only one. But I felt alone.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew it was my problem to fix, regardless of who did that against me or who caused that to happen. Because there's things where I've gotten the crap beat out of me that were my fault, right? But there's also in some of those plus others where it was hands down other people's fault, intentional harm, and could I play victim? Could I sit there and why me? Why did this happen? You can't help but feel it a little bit, but I really focused on like, okay, let's put on my pants again tomorrow and let's go figure it out and just work through it. The only way that you can overcome massive failure or just getting the crap beat out of you is by more winning, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit there and cry and just, sit there in your sorrows. But for me, it wasn't that. It was like, all right, let's go kick some ass.
Yep, absolutely.
So those were some life lessons.
Yeah, 20, you're what, 9 years, 10 years?
8 years.
8 years into the business.
Yeah.
So man, I'm 20. It's, and it's interesting because now when things come at me, like adversity, it's so much easier to handle.
Oh yeah.
Even just from a few years ago. Like, so many things have happened, in the last 20 years, and, some things happened a few years ago where I had to reset and downsize some staff, and things got really competitive and I had to, really buckle down. But things have gone dramatically, not dramatically changed, but a lot of cool things have happened in the last few years where a few years ago I probably would have not handled things nearly as well that come at me. Now it's like, I've been there before. Yeah. I know how to handle it.
Yeah, those kind of lessons definitely prepare you to handle those, and handle adversity. And I think as you grow and move through your career, what allows probably most people to push through to those next levels of success is having some of those life moments, whether they're learning how to deal with success or learning how to deal with failures, but growing from that. And so that you're better prepared for more situations and opportunities that come across, and then being able to push through those, So let's talk about where you're investing. So we haven't talked about that yet. We're sitting here in San Diego. My business, for those that know, is virtual. I grew up in Central California. I invest there. And so I feel like I'm there because my mind is mentally there, even though I'm looking at the ocean and driving my golf cart around. I got to pinch myself sometimes. But, I'm essentially virtual investor, right? Mm-hmm. So you're very similar in that way as well.
Yeah, so I've got many legs of business now. I've always just been a serial entrepreneur since I started. Business. I just had crazy ideas, and some have stuck and some haven't. So Wichita, Kansas is where I was born and raised. So that's where I started the operation. And about what was it? About 12 years into the business, 13 years into the business, I found a guy that had a business that didn't go to the houses, didn't meet with sellers, didn't meet with contractors. And I was like, there's no way that guy can have a real estate investing business and not meet with sellers and not meet with contractors. Like, those are the two big things that I was like, I couldn't let those go. There's no way. Mm-hmm. No one could do it as good as I could, right? And so that gave me the vision of, okay, I need to have better systems and processes in place so I don't have to be there. So he gave me the vision, and about 3 years later, I was able to say the same thing. I don't look at houses anymore. I don't meet with sellers. In fact, in the past, 6 years, I've probably gone into maybe 15 houses, maybe. And part of it was in the beginning when I left Wichita and moved to San Diego. Mm-hmm. I'd fly back and I'd go look at properties just because I wanted to keep my hands on them. Yeah. And then eventually I was like, I don't need to go anymore. I went a few months ago and we had some big flips going. So I went to like 2 or 3. But really it's like, I do better without looking at them now.
Me too.
Just because you can see things from a global picture and make better decisions
that way. It's a different perspective, yeah.
As long as you have good information, right? As long as your people are giving you good comps and giving you good budgets and things like that. So Wichita, Kansas, still flipping houses there. Recently, a few years ago, started a lending business, so we're doing gap funding for real estate investors, doing down payments to help real estate investors do deals that don't have down payments and things of that nature. And then TV, that's what we just talked about on my podcast a little bit ago, was getting real estate investors on TV throughout the country. So now we're working with over 100 real estate investors around the country. 120 is what we're working with now. And so we're helping real estate investors get on TV throughout the country, and just like you, just crushing it out of the gate. And then with that, I seen your numbers and some of our other clients, and I'm like, okay, maybe we need to start doing TVs ourselves in other cities, in other markets. So we're in 5 markets right now with other JV partners. So we with our TV, we do negotiations, we do the ad buying, we do the production for our clients. So basically, we're just taking that model, plugging it into other markets now, and then finding a JV partner in that area to do deals with.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty scalable too.
Totally scalable. Yeah, I was meeting with our JV partners once a week on Friday just to go quickly over the numbers and negotiations and contracts and all that. And then I just hired a guy recently that is doing the operations for the TV program that now meets with the clients.
Oh, wow.
So
that's nice.
Yeah. So they're out there doing the deals. We're providing the leads. Some of the deals we provide money. In fact, we've got one closing a week from today. Our JV partner, she's spending what are we spending, like $4,000 a month in her market. She's getting ready to close one that will do about $30,000 to $40,000 in profit. We brought the money and closed that deal, and then we're funding 2 more. One of them will do about $50,000 in profit, and the other one will do probably $20,000 to $25,000. It's only an $85,000 after repair value deal, so it'll be a high margin deal. Wow. So yeah, I love it. We're helping other real estate investors with what they need. It's typically leads and money. Yeah. Right? So if we can provide both of those deals, it actually goes hand in hand pretty well.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that moment, because I really like this, what I've been kind of just being around you, seeing and trying to implement in my life too, is kind of a lifestyle business, mm-hmm. right? Again, the whole idea of, your business is working for you rather than you working on your business. So you saw this guy running his business without going on the appointments and handling all the calls. And I too am very much that same way, where I've poured my time and effort and energy and passion into improving all my skills around those areas and feeling like I'm second to none, right? Like, we're going to get the most amount of profit. We're going to close more deals if I'm doing it. And so it was really hard for me to give that up. So how did you implement that effectively? What helped you get there? Did you have a certain system you followed? Let's kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, well, first of all is the vision. So the guy that I hired as a coach didn't necessarily he provided some value from an operations and system standpoint, but some of the stuff that he taught I kind of already knew or was already doing. But the first thing was just the vision of it, right? Because like most people don't know what they're capable of, right? Because that's why some people get here, and that's why some people stay here, is because if you could only think you can stay here and that's what you're worth and that's what you can do, then you're going to stay there. If you think you can become a billionaire, you can potentially become a billionaire, right?
True.
It's all about mentality. So that was the first part of it, just the vision of knowing that you could have a business that way. And then from there, I think as I've kind of always been somewhat of a delegator, but delegation only gets you so far, right? So I can delegate, but when you can hire people and empower them and automate the operations, that's where it becomes very scalable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I used to work, back in the day, so I met my wife in 2012. I was working probably 80 hours a week, 80 hours a week, pretty easily. At least 60, but probably 80, because I'd literally get up at like 5 a.m, sometimes work till 10 at night. I mean, it's just, those kinds of...
That would have been me if I was single too.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to do. And so going from where I was, 9 or 10 years ago to now, so now I start early. So like this morning, my 2.5-year-old woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I didn't go back to sleep. So did my meditation and all that kind of stuff I do in the morning, a little exercise. And then I think I started at like 6 or 6:30 this morning. So if I'm up early, I'll go. But I have this set rule with my wife that I'm at home at 5 every single day.
Nice.
5 o'clock. 5:05, sometimes 5:15, but 5 o'clock, right? And a lot of times I'll come home early. There'll be days I'll just be like, I don't have any appointments. I have a lot to do. I'm going home. I've just kind of trained myself mentally to do that. Now, sometimes at night I'm still thinking, I'm not 100% completely off. But usually I'm home between 4 and 5, and I've made it to where, and I just started flying recently.
That's right, yeah.
So now I'm taking, like I took 3 hours the other morning and went flying,
So how'd you get into flying? Like, what made you want to get into that? You see a friend doing it and you thought it was cool, or have you always wanted to fly?
At first it was a vision board thing, because when you get into
jet
business,
up there,
right? It was a jet. It was this,
you want to fly your own jet?
It was this nice jet, and at the time it was like vanity. It was like, okay, I'm gonna own a jet or whatever, or make enough money that I can own a jet. So that's how it started 10 or 15 years ago when I put on a vision board. And then I started watching Air Disasters. I don't know if you've seen that show. It's about...
I haven't.
It's reenacting plane crashes.
Are you sure that wouldn't discourage you from...
No, it should, but it was fascinating because you get to see like in the cockpit and what they're doing and all the all this kind of stuff. And then on top of that, at the end, they're like, because of this, they did this, and like you feel so much safer to fly because now they every year, or not every year, but every time there's something that happens that's pretty big, they put another rule in place and refine and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, a couple months ago, I just I started getting targeted with these Cirrus ads. Are you from Cirrus airplanes?
Yeah.
They have the parachutes, and
they knew you were feeling it. Huh?
And now they have a jet that lands itself. It's
now every third scroll is something plane related. Huh?
Pretty much, yeah. So
I got you.
So anyway, I started seeing those ads. So I don't know how they started targeting me, a business owner or whatever. So then I started looking on the website. I'm like, these planes look pretty cool. So then I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll take flight lessons, because I've always just wanted to maybe get my pilot's license. So So when I bought my Tesla 5 years ago, I went and test drove a Tesla, not thinking I was going to buy it. And within a week, I think I ordered one. So then I went and flew in a Cirrus. I think it's been a couple months ago.
Pretty top line, right?
Yeah. So usually you train in a Cessna 182 or 187. No, it's not 187. Whatever this. No, 172. Cessna 172. That's typically what people train on. Slow plane, 4-seater, old plane, built in the 50s, 60s, maybe even in the 70s. They go, I don't know, between 100 and 150 miles an hour, maybe. So the Cirrus is at least a few steps up. It's the best-selling plane in its class. I'm not sure what that class is, but it's a 5-seater. Goes 200 to 225 miles an hour,
wow,
so quite a bit faster. So not quite as fast as a jet, but a lot faster than a
Yeah.
small plane. So anyway, first time we took off, I was hooked. I was like,
Really?
oh man,
On the
this is so cool. So I'm getting my pilot's license. Love to get a Cirrus later this year, and
Did you say you want to own one?
yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah,
Oh,
good tax write-off.
going in, huh?
Good tax write-off.
Yeah.
So if you buy a plane, usually it's pay for
Well,
itself
you need to
for
get
the
to
first year or
Kansas
two.
somehow to check out these properties.
Totally, or not check them out.
No, check them out.
Go somewhere else.
Look for more
Go to other markets.
in the search for pickleball courts.
Yes, and that was going to be my next
And you're going to
thing.
get an aerial view, bird's eye view of where the courts are. You can, I can play
That's
here.
funny. That's funny. I took
a
a picture while we were flying the other day, and it looked like there was this field that looked like a bunch of pickleball courts. I'm like, that's
God.
pretty cool. So anyway, what I was getting to was with flying. So like the other day, actually, I flew for 3 hours in the morning. I worked for a couple hours, and I'm like, I'm gonna go play pickleball this afternoon, right? If you would have told me that 10 or 15 years ago, I'd have been like, there's no way I would be able to disconnect for 5 hours to go do something fun. So I've created that balance now of like, yeah, when I work, I'm going to work hard. But at the same time, if I feel like I want to go play pickleball or go fly or something, I'll just take the afternoon off or take a morning off and just go do it. And again, it's a mentality because I have so much to do at the office. Like I have 150 emails right now I need to go through. I've got projects that I've got sitting there waiting.
Anxiety, man. I can't have a full inbox.
Oh, how many emails do you have in your email box right now?
I clear them out regularly.
Oh my God, I wish
I'm
I
on top
could.
of it, dude. I'm pretty good.
No, I feel like I'm really good, but dude, I will go and I'll clear out like 100 and then 50 more will pop in.
See, when I'm done with this, I'll probably have somewhere between 40 to 60, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
If I go a couple hours without checking it. But that's my pulse on the day of like what's going on in the business, what's the conversations and communication throughout the team, knowing how escrows are going. That's my pulse. So if I'm not on top of it, I'll be okay. Like I've gotten to the point where I'm not as nervous because, again, to give you some props for it, people like you influencing me to kind of get out of my own way and empowering people, just like you were saying, putting certain systems and expectations in place. I've just done that more so recently, and I'm telling you right now, it feels so good. Mm-hmm. So good.
Yeah, my problem is that I had the real estate investing business going greased and everything going well. And then I had another business, and then I dove into that, got that automated, then dove into another one. So I just keep adding businesses. So that's my biggest struggle right now is just figuring out like when do I need to stop adding things. It's a good problem to have. I mean, I'm not complaining by any means, but
and again, some of the most successful people have either multiple businesses or they have one that's just so scalable that it's a monster like Amazon, right? So you can't discredit yourself. And I've been doing some more of the same recently, just investing in other things, whether it takes my time or not, to kind of diversify and open up for more opportunity and more potential. So yeah, I can't blame you for that. So to kind of finish off the whole lifestyle kind of business, you said it took you about 3 years to kind of get yourself to a place that felt like you were in that groove.
Yeah, because what it came down. So I compared the first 10 years of my business to the second 10 years because they're pretty different. Mm-hmm. First 10 years, I didn't hire the right people. I tried to hire very cheap labor. Didn't have a good process or system for hiring people. So I would just, if someone said they could do it, I'd just throw them in there. there's just a lot of things that, asking for help was probably the biggest thing. Because I told you 12 years into the business, so a couple years after the first 10 years, I hired a coach and I started like going to masterminds and started really like reaching out to other people as either coaches for help or being a part of masterminds where I could share my struggles and then get feedback and then get support.
Let's spotlight that because I think that's been, again, without having maybe realized it, one of the biggest things that's kind of one of those full circle things in our business over the past couple of years is I've been more of an abundant mindset, more willing to share and help other people and let them know what we're doing, what's working, what's not working. And by helping other people, those conversations are now open to kind of come back to us and talk about what's working and not working. And it's kind of allowed me to spend the time to reflect on some of those things that aren't working, right? It's instead of putting on the kind of putting up the image of like everything's great, we're crushing it. It's like, well, sure, we might be doing pretty good, but man, there's some broken things here, and I could do a lot better if I was just open to receiving some feedback from other people. And so it sounds like that was something you were receptive to and like actually allowed it to happen.
Yeah, because I would put my head down.
Yeah,
and just grind away and just.
I think that's what my problem was too.
Yeah, and I thought that if I asked for help, I was weak or stupid for not being able to figure it out.
Right.
And it's total opposite.
It could not be more opposite because the people who probably get places faster, hands down, are the people who ask more questions, ask for more help. Right.
Totally.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So the first 10 years, a lot of struggles, hiring the wrong people, not a scalable business. I had to fire my staff twice. So back, I can't remember the year, it was like 2005, I had to fire a bunch of people. I think I had like 5 or 6 employees and ended up firing them all within a short amount of time. And then the same thing happened almost the exact same way in 2010. 3 were living in my houses because I was helping them. They were struggling or, whatever. And so they talked me into, letting them move into my houses. And then so I had to fire them. 3 of them live in the houses. So then, of course, they weren't paying rent and, threatened lawsuits because I fired them because this and that and whatever. So it was a big shitstorm for lack of better words. So kind of hit rock bottom mentally at that point because I was like going here, hiring people, and then all of a sudden it was like, man, now I got to do everything. I got to do property management. I got to do project management.
That's overwhelming, for
all
sure.
that kind of stuff. And so I made a decision in 2011, I think it was. It might even just been in 10 right after that happened to hire my sister. And I paid her almost twice as much as anybody I've ever paid. And because she had ran another company and I knew she could just come in and do what I needed. So she came in and still with me today. She does a job of like 3 people. So that was the foundation of like getting someone really good to take the things off that I knew that I didn't want to do so that I could focus on the things that I knew I was better at. Mm-hmm. And then even when I thought I was good at something, so property or project management and meeting with sellers, I thought because I knew the business really well that I was good at negotiating, which I feel like I'm pretty good at negotiating. But I ended up hiring someone that was better at creating that rapport because I was good at negotiating. I just wasn't really good at relationships. Mm-hmm. So I hired someone who ended up coming in and doing really well with acquisitions. And then I ended up giving my sister the project management position, and she manages projects 100 times better than I do.
Right.
She's way more patient. She adheres to the budget. She's on time. She's way better than I am at that. So I think in order to create a really good business, you have to find people that are better than you at most things and that can take things off your plate that you don't like to do so you can focus on the things that you do like to do and that you're really good at.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you want to be the visionary, the person who's driving the business in the right place. Now, there's going to be some people who probably aren't as good at being a business owner and might need to level up in those skills and might be that, highly skilled person in a certain area. So I've heard of some people that they've hired on some other people to fill in some areas, but they've stayed in on acquisitions or whatever it may be, right? They're still going to the projects and getting all the bids and stuff like that, and that's all that they do. So for some people, they might stay in it in that sense, but out of necessity, at least for myself, I've certainly been removed from it because I can't physically be there. Like you said, you might go to Kansas and look at the properties because you weren't able to before. That used to be me. When I would go back into town, so to speak, I would, go drive around, look at properties. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, what am I doing? My partner already did that. He's already looked at all these things. He's already run all the numbers. I already know what the numbers are. Like, it's not going to do me any good looking at them. So
that goes back to mindset and mentality, because there's so many things that I could go back and dive into and get lost in the weeds. So you got to, and I still do that in some things, but you have to pick and choose what you put your head into, right? Yeah. Because going back to, or not going back to, but is it Parkinson's law that things will fit into the time you allot it to? So that's why I'm okay now going and flying for a few hours or going and playing pickleball, because I know if I only have 2 to 3 hours to work, I'm going to work on the most important things. I'm going to work on the top 20% of things that need to be done, and then the other 80% are going to be lost in my inbox somewhere, which I'm kind of okay with, even though mentally I'm like, I need to clear that out. But yeah, it's a mentality. So if you feel like you have to work 80 hours a week to be successful, which I thought at one point you needed to do, you're going to work 80 hours a week. If you know that you can work 30 to 40 hours a week and still be a millionaire, multimillionaire, potentially even a billionaire, you can get the same amount done in 30 to 40 hours you can in 80.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the interesting thing is when I do go back into town, at times, if I allow it to happen, I'll be out of my routine, right? I'll be out of what I'm used to doing and where my focus is. So I'll be driving around in the car with my partner. We're going to an appointment. We're going to check on this thing or that thing that he's normally doing, right? And my whole day feels lost and gone. And I'll go back. I'm like, well, wait, what about, these emails that I need to get to, or these other things I had on my calendar, just completely blown out of the water. So, so I think what you've been able to do, it seems like, is just kind of create the business around the way you want to live. So what's a typical day kind of look like for you? And I know there's little odds and ends that change throughout the week. But what's a typical ideal day look like for you, I should say?
Yeah. So I have typically 2 to 3 types of different days. So like Mondays are typically like meetings, like getting my team set, because I have different teams that I meet with. So getting them set up for the week. So Mondays are pretty busy with meetings. So that's one day where I just have a lot of meetings. Another day is what I mentioned to you, where, like Wednesdays, I try not to schedule anything so that I can go fly if I want to. I can go play pickleball, those kinds of things. Yeah. And then there's kind of the in-between where I'm like, okay, I'm going to schedule some meetings, but I'm not going to be too packed. So I usually have like 1 to 2 days that are pretty full with meetings where I know that I've got to meet with certain people, frequently. And then I've got about 3 days a week. One, Wednesdays where I try not to book a lot. And then Fridays I try not to book a lot as well, because my wife typically texts me and is like, hey, can you come home early? so I'll try and take Friday afternoon.
Sounds like me too.
Yeah, try to take Friday afternoons off and kind of start the weekend early. But Zoom. Usually it's Zoom a lot. A lot of virtual stuff. I just hired my first 3 employees in San Diego. I had them all in Wichita.
Oh, wow.
And then I just, with the new businesses, I needed help in person to be able to like pass paperwork off and tell someone to print something off and run errands and stuff like that. So I just hired a few people. So it's changed quite a bit in the last couple months. So I try and go in every morning. We do our quick team huddle, and then, just making things happen. So we're funding a lot of deals right now. We've got a ton of TV clients. Love that part of the business because, I just love seeing results from clients that we're getting on TV throughout the country. And, just try and sprinkle as much fun as I can into weeks.
Yeah. So let's talk about your other businesses. You've been talking about, adding this business, adding that business. So you got your flipping business, right? You still have rentals.
Yep.
Still got
I'm
rentals.
actually keeping everything that we buy now.
Oh, everything you buy now.
Everything we buy now.
No more flips?
Well, we're flipping them, but not selling them. So we're doing the rehabs. So the reason we do that is multiple reasons. One is tax savings.
Yeah.
So instead of paying taxes,
we talked about this
in income,
we talk about this on the pickleball court. Do you remember?
No, I'm sure we did, but
we did. We were sitting down. It was had to have been like towards the end of the year, and we were talking about things we were doing to
save money on taxes.
Yeah. And so we were talking about, well, dude, I just need more rental properties, right? I was talking about how we do the rental properties, and based on the current tax code and law, you do a full remodel on a rental property, you can write off all the expenses.
Most of it.
Bonus depreciation.
Yeah.
Right? So if in that case, if you have an active income business in real estate that's, subject to whatever you want to call it, ordinary income or whatever it is, right? Get the taxes on that. The way to defer some of those taxes or to eliminate those taxes on the money you made is go invest it in more real estate that you're then going to hold, that you're going to remodel and update, increase the value of, right? And then go refinance it. You might be into that property for almost no money or very little.
Yep, and then
and have the write-off.
Yep.
That's my favorite way to, do deals and save money on taxes.
Yep. So that's probably the number one reason. Two is I feel like the market's going to continue to go up. So I bought a property. Let's see, what was it? 9 months ago. And we projected the after repair value to be $110,000. We rented the property out. The tenant did a 12-month lease. They moved out early, and my sister sent it to me. And whenever a property comes vacant, she's like, "Do you want to sell it, or do you want to continue to rent it?" And I was like, "Pull the value on this. I just want to see." So it was going to sell for $110 back 9 months ago, and she's like, "The comps are $140,000 now."
Wow.
So the 1031 exchange, so 1031 is basically taking the profits and putting it into another property without touching it, and there's rules and regulations behind it. But the technical term, there's actually no, from what I understand, check with your CPA or tax attorney, there's no defined time you have to own the property to do 1031 exchange. They say 12 months is the rule of thumb. 2 years is super safe. But it says if you don't intend to sell the property and use it just for investment purposes. So they moved out. My intent was not to sell it, but since they moved out, now my intent is to sell it. So I'm doing a 1031 exchange. I'm going to take that money and put it into another property. So my thing right now is just to figure out how to not pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because I've actually done pretty good at that over the last 20 years. But now with all these other businesses, it's there's more income that I got to figure out other ways.
Yeah, I'm not excited about this year.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you've got the flips going. You've got rentals, right? Focusing on more rentals, specifically because not only does that help you build your wealth, but cash flow and the tax benefits. So those are all no-brainers. And then you talked about the lending business. So explain to people what gap funding is and what it is you guys are doing to help, because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not an everyday thing that's accessible to most investors, and to find someone who is continuously doing it and available for opportunities can be really hard to find.
There's no other company that I know that's doing it on a large scale. So gap funding is basically if someone buys a property for $100,000, they have to put $20,000 down because the lender's most likely going to want 20%. And then you've got closing costs and all that kind of stuff. So typically on that type of deal, I don't know, $30,000, let's say, is needed for that deal to put down on a property. A lot of people don't have $30,000 sitting around, plus holding costs and all that. So I had a hard money lender come to me, 3 years ago now, maybe 4. And he's like, I've got guys that I can get approved, but they don't realize how much money they need to do these deals. He's like, would you be willing to lend them the money? So we came up with this program to fund deals. So a year goes by. we only had one deal go bad, but we ended up flipping it and still coming out okay, getting our money back and making a little money on it. And so someone's like, why don't you make a business out of this? Why don't you like actually create a brand? Because this guy was just sending me deals and I'd fund them. And then as I started doing this, I realized how much need there was for people that needed this program.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I do, I offer the main service, but there's always added value to it. So with what we do, it's not just, hey, you're a number, we're going to do the deal. Like I'm constantly like, when something happens, I'm stepping in and helping our real estate investors. So if a contractor screws them and takes their money,
that's some added value that most lenders would not offer.
Big time, yeah. And I have my team underwrite the deals as if I was doing them.
Yeah.
So it's not just, hey, you have a $40,000 budget. Okay, great. It's no, when we approve a deal, my people will bring me the bid, and I'll be like, do not tell them not to put $50,000 down to this contractor, because people will do that.
Oh, sure.
People will get bids and be like, oh, this is a good bid, and they'll give it a big deposit, and then what happens? That contractor typically walks away.
Bye-bye.
So we coach them on how to pay contractors and make sure that they're not overpaying them, because anytime I've overpaid a contractor, almost every time I've gotten screwed in some capacity. So we add value that way. We have people come back to us and are like, hey, we need more money. Most lenders aren't typically going to lend you more money unless they charge you a bunch of fees and then more appraisals, and most won't do it just because they've already maxed out their loan to value. So if I feel like they're doing what they say they're going to do, and we've got to put the project across, I've got a guy that came back for another $50,000.
Wowzers! And
luckily, as the rehab went longer, the property went up $50,000 in value. So maybe even 70. So luckily there was equity in it where we could, lend them the extra money. So I love that business too. A lot of risk involved in it because we're in a second position, but we get pretty good returns, and we're helping a lot of people do deals that they normally would not have been able to do.
So there's like 3 different sides to it. There's the borrower, the person who's in need of the funds, right? There's you that's facilitating it. And then you have other people who are investing into you lending the business. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. We talked about the borrower. Let's go to the other side. People who are investors, right? How does someone get involved with you, and then what does that even look like for them?
Yeah, so we still have private, even though I lend my own money and have that business. I still bring private investors in on my flipping business, so we can leverage that and do a lot of deals and not have to come up with our own money on a lot of deals, except for holding costs and things like that. So as I started scaling up this business, I only had so much money to lend. So then I went to some of my private investors, and I said, hey, I've got these deals over here. They're a little riskier. We're in second position. If anything happens, I'll take over the property. I'll rehab it, make sure we get our money back. So I started bringing them on deals and splitting the profits on those deals.
Nice.
So we find the deal, we vet it, all that kind of stuff. I usually fund the deals if I don't have enough available capital. We get a bunch of deals coming in, then I'll bring investors in, and basically they split the profits with me.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And like, what are the typical kind of returns?
So we typically charge for gap funding. We don't do a bunch of junk fees and stuff like that. So we just charge a flat fee. So if someone needs $30,000 on a deal, we'll charge 20%. For them to use our money. So $6,000. So typically investors are making 25, 30, 40, 50 grand on deals. So it's a higher rate.
And they'd make no money if they didn't have your money.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly, yeah. And then for the investor, we just pay them half of that if they bring the money to the table.
It's pretty sexy.
So they're getting a minimum of 20% return on investment.
It's pretty sexy.
For their money, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the other side of that is you kind of as the operator, so to speak, of that. You've got that pretty streamlined last time I spoke to you in terms of how you find these opportunities. A lot of it just in Facebook groups.
Yeah. So I've got a VA that reaches out and people post all the time about needing money. So she'll reach out to them and send them our information, and they go and apply on our website, and got a team that underwrites the deals and processes them. And there's some investors that are brand spanking new, so We'll do joint venture deals with them. We'll participate in the profits because we're bringing basically all the money.
Yeah.
And chances are,
And
if
the
someone's
experience.
and if someone's a new investor, they're going to be coming to us for something.
Yeah.
More money, or something happened, or we can't pay, and we almost always have to step in on deals that it's a newer investor. So, but if someone has a bunch of deals under their belt, then we're more flexible with terms and can work with them a little bit better.
That's awesome. And then how do you protect yourself? Because I think you told me there's a specific thing you put in place to protect yourself pretty much about as much as you could.
So we do second positions on deals. So we have second position, and hopefully there's enough equity in the deal. Usually is to where if a seller defaults, or excuse me, a borrower defaults, that we can, if we have to foreclose, then we can pay off the first lien holder, own the property, and then rehab it and resell it.
Right. There was something you told me, a strategy, you put a performance deed in place?
Oh yeah, we do a convertible note. So we do a convertible note to where if they don't pay and they don't cure the default, so we send out notices by legally to have them cure the default. If they don't cure it in a certain amount of time, then we're able to convert that note into equity and then own the property.
Right. That's pretty cool. Helps kind of eliminate the whole foreclosure process.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So how'd you even learn about that?
My attorney and I were just talking. We're like, we started doing LLCs for all these properties because, we're in second position, right? So for us to have to foreclose on it, we'd have to have all kinds of legal fees and all that kind of stuff. So by the time we did that, could eat up, a decent part of our equity that we're trying to get back out. So my attorney and I just were talking, and he's like, "You thought about a convertible note?" And I'm like, "That's genius. That's perfect." So, we don't have too many people that are like, "Why do you do that?" It's, if someone knows they're going to pay, then there's no issue, right? But so we've just come up with a creative way to protect ourselves a little bit more, even though we're in a risky position.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here with these shirts on.
Yeah.
I flip houses as seen on TV. So let's talk about the juicy stuff, man. Let's talk about this TV that you've been doing for a decade now, right?
Almost. Yeah.
Almost a decade now.
This is year 10. Yep.
Okay, so a decade on TV. And by TV, we mean doing TV ads. So you see someone on TV saying, "Hey, I'm Tony Javier from Pro Home Buyers. If you're looking to sell your house, you have equity in it, it's, messed up, someone broke in, or the tenants are bad, we can buy your house cash."
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I went to a poker game, and this guy I sat next to, I was like, "This guy's on TV. This is kind of cool. I'm sitting next to this guy that's on TV." Anyway, so I started shooting the shit with him, and I'm like, "Hey, how are your TV commercials doing?" Just striking up conversation. He's like, "Dude, we're crushing it. We're doing like $2 million a year of construction business just from TV."
Wow.
He's like, "That's the only marketing we do." And I'm like, "That's cool." And he's like, "My media guy is the one that helps me." He goes, "Talk to him. He'll do all XYZ for you. It's he makes it really easy." So called him, and of course my personality is like, "Dude, let's do it. Let's go." Within about 30 days, we had a TV commercial. I did the script, kind of helped with the creative. My media guy, Drew, who's helping with your ads now, he's the one that negotiated with the stations. He knew what ads to buy. He knew it all. And so it's fairly turnkey. And so I've been doing really well with TV for 10 years now. So about a year and a half ago, someone was like, "Hey, why don't you create a program and show people how you do TV?" So I went to my guy Drew and I said, "Hey, what would you think about if I were to show people my scripts, the testing we've done to see what commercials work and what stations work and all that kind of stuff? Would you be willing to help me and do the ad buying, do that side of it?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go, let's try it." And so we launched a year and a half ago, and just like you're getting crazy results, like most of the investors we get on TV are just crushing it because instant credibility. Not many people are doing it in any given market, right? If you do texting, cold calling, postcards, you can find dozens that are probably doing the same thing, hitting the same list. So you're sticking out. People are calling you, so it's a much better lead. So now we're basically turnkeying turnkeying commercials for real estate investors in other markets. We're working with 120 investors now, and scaling that up very quickly. And most of our clients, when I say most of our clients, almost every single client is getting a return on their investment. And we have a lot of clients that are doing, 5, 10, 15, even up to 20 times return on their money.
Yeah, I bet.
With their TV commercials.
So just to highlight that real quick. So, Tony, you've got an actual program, a done-for-you program, Real Estate Masters TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is?
RealEstateMastersTV.com.
Okay, so RealEstateMastersTV.com. And so Tony approached me about a year ago. We're in a mastermind together, and we were talking about marketing, right? Like what's working, and what are we doing to get results? And I was in a position where I need to do more, right? But there's only so much more I can do. There's only so many lists I can send direct mail to, so many lists I can cold call, so many lists I can text. How do I do more? And going to media felt like really the only area. And only thing I knew about was PPC. And I was kind of hit or miss on PPC, right? Wasn't quite getting the results I wanted. But they were getting some. And it's like, well, what else is there? And so I dabbled in trying a few different other things and social media and stuff like that. And Tony's been, crushing on TV. And you were just kind of poking me like, hello, knucklehead, look over here. I got results here. Check out TV. So for me, the biggest thing for me, what got me over the hurdle, because the objections I had was, is it going to cost too much, right? Is it going to be a ton of effort? Is it going to be difficult to set up? And I just didn't feel like I had enough time to really set it up. And so the Done For You program that you have, literally, you sign up for it. If you want your face on camera, you go stand in front of a camera, which Tony can give you all the pointers on how to get that set up. You just go talk in front of the camera, speak, say the script that's already done for you, and then their team will edit it. For me, it literally checked all the boxes to get me over the objections I created for myself, and I haven't touched it since.
Yep, and you're getting a 5 times return on your money if we did the numbers earlier.
We did the numbers.
Which is really good considering how automated it is, right?
Yeah.
And all the credibility you get. And
yeah, the intangibles. We talked about this on podcast just before this with Tony, and just the intangibles are insane. The instant credibility that you get, and just from your local kind of industry, right? Which for me in referral business has helped tremendously. And then with the sellers themselves, when they're calling you, chances are they're only talking to you. Beyond the fact of them being more motivated, much higher motivation level than most other marketing channels. Mm-hmm. The chances of them having 10 to 15 postcards on their kitchen table is very low, very, very low. Most people, would have never, ever spoken to them through all the other different types of marketing that we do if it wasn't for the TV commercial. Mm.
At the same time, I don't know if you've seen this, but sometimes people get a stack of postcards.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll see ours and they'll be like, oh, I know this company from TV. And they'll call and they'll be like, hey, I got all these postcards. I didn't recognize anybody but you. Can you come out and take a look at our house?
Had that happen too,
yeah.
Yeah. So, what made you think that you could, because another thing that you said just rolled off the tongue, but is pretty wild results. You've got 120 people nationally that have already signed up for this program. So again, you were poking me about a year ago, like, hey, knucklehead, you should get into this. I signed up pretty early into you starting that, and it's grown like crazy. So tell me about that whole journey there.
Yeah, so, I didn't know what to expect. When I got on TV, I didn't know what to expect. First month, I did $35,000 and with a $3,000 ad spend, Yeah. So I believed in it very early, and it's continued, to produce between 5 to 11 times return on my money, depending on the years. Things fluctuate. And so once we started launching other investors throughout the country, we started seeing the same results, $5,000 ad spend. Someone would post, man, I just made 50 grand my first month or 30 grand my first month. Had a guy post the other day, it's his third month in. He'd already had 2 really good months. I think he'd made around 50 grand his first 2 months. And then he just posted, he's like, I just did a $125,000 deal from TV.
Wowzer.
And so I'm just seeing that all the time. People texting me, be like, hey, just got another 50K deal, or just got another 30. When you text me last week, you're like, I just closed a 50K and a 40K deal from TV. So it's just so rewarding. And it spreads. Like, people will, when something's really good, people will tell
you're making money like that, you're going to tell people.
Yeah. So we're getting good referrals, and it's a very non-competitive channel. You go on podcasts and listen to different things. People are talking about postcards and direct mail and PPC and texting and cold calling, but who's talking about TV? Not very many.
No one's really talking about it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's grown substantially. And again, like I said, I love adding value above and beyond just the main service. So not only do I get people on TV, but we also help with their sales process. And because I met with a investor today, and he's getting between, it's hard to calculate because the way he did it, but it's between a 2 to 4x. And he's like, we're not where we want to be. And I'm like, it's not that bad. But we started digging in, and he, talking him through it, and he's like, yeah, my sales process isn't that great. And he's an experienced investor too. They're doing at least 5 deals a month, somewhere between 5 and 10 deals a month. So just adding that value, and then what you and I talked about with automation, like a lot of these guys are working really hard. So I'm like, okay, I added a mastermind. I'd already had a mastermind, an online mastermind. So when my TV clients come on, I give them access to that, and we talk a lot about scaling and automation and system and hiring and stuff like that. So I'm not only getting investors a ton of leads and making them money, but I also want to really impact their businesses so that they can have a better lifestyle too.
Yeah.
So
I'd say that's pretty unique, because most of these programs you look at, they're kind of designed to, like, hey, sign up for it and then you figure it out. That's something I can appreciate tremendously, is truly everything was handled for me. And that was, again, my biggest barrier to do it was, all right, this looks like it's going to be good and work, but how hard is it going to be for me to go through all the steps to get it live and running? And all that was handled for me.
Yep.
So huge kudos to you, dude, for like figuring that out and getting a process around that. Because all I did was go to a buddy's studio here, shoot the video. It was all raw video, not even edited. Sent a Google Drive link to the team, and they took care of the rest. And I was like, whoa, this looks pretty good.
Yeah, I set it up how I'd want it to be set up, right? So like if I was doing something, I'm like, I don't want to do it, just do it for me. So we set it up that way. And then everything we do is how I would want it done on my side as a real estate investor. So we have full transparency of like, hey, when you're paying for ads, we're not upping the ad spend on you. Like, you're paying $5,000, you're paying $5,000 to the stations, and that's what your ad spend is.
Right.
There's a lot of different things that, and then we actually, I haven't talked to you about this, I don't think, but we added people that are signing up now. We're actually buying the phone numbers. We're putting it into a kind of a CRM. And we're starting to track the amount of calls and getting data from all of our clients so that we can start sharing that data with all of our clients. So that's something else we're adding value. And as we can actually build that out as like a full CRM. So we're actually going to give that to our clients for free as well. So
nice.
A lot of cool things we're adding on the back end.
Yeah, no doubt. Plus with the whole mastermind thing, I think that's a like maybe understated thing too, because having the support around not only just the, hey, this is going to be completely done for you with a white glove handheld service, but there's also the, hey, well, let me bring you in here and get you around other like-minded people who are trying to push things and excel and automate and systemize things. Pretty cool.
Yeah, community is a big thing.
Yeah,
sure.
Huge thing. So how do people find out about the TV program?
Yeah, so realestatemasterstv.com. You can go there. If you want to learn about funding or some other things I'm doing, TonyJavier.com, my personal website.
Okay.
I've got a podcast as well and a bunch of other things you can go check out.
So it would be an absolute fail if we didn't talk about pickleball. So How'd you get into pickleball?
Yeah, so interesting enough, I flipped a house in the Sunset Cliffs area here in San Diego, and we did a big flip. Ended up being kind of a disaster. But anyway, so there are a lot of good things that came out of it. So our designer, we became good friends with, and then her husband at the time, he was like, dude, have you heard of... So we started becoming friends with her, and then he came into the picture. So we started becoming friends with him. He's like, dude, have you heard about pickleball? And I'm like, yeah, I played that in like high school, like 20 years ago. Like,
really?
Randomly in PE or whatever. And he's like, you got to check it out. And I went, and I was just hooked, dude. It's so much fun.
Where'd you go?
Bobby Riggs here.
Okay, you went
here
there.
In San Diego. Yeah, and
Now
so
you're a junkie.
yeah, I got hooked. So so I try and play at least 3 times a week if I can. I've played I think as many as 5, but I got a knee that I've had surgery on a couple times, so I got to tone it down a little bit. But yeah, I'll go play 2 to 3 hours.
You're
at a
trying
time.
to aggravate that shoulder too with all those. What do you call it in pickleball?
Tennis elbow?
No, when you smash it on someone.
I don't know if there's a term for that.
There's no term. There's got to be a term.
Well, let's make one up.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. The best thing I think about is just a smash, but
I'm sure
or
there's
slam or something like that.
Yeah, slam or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the fun part about it
Yeah.
is if you just want to go and just get some
You got some ups.
stress out.
You got some ups because you played volleyball, right?
Well, I played basketball. I used to be able to dunk a basketball.
No. Oh wow.
5'9", can dunk a basketball. That's right, buddy.
Jeez.
That was way back in the day. So yeah, but
That's some serious vert right there.
then I played a little bit of like league volleyball, like in college and stuff like
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you know,
I noticed when you
can
get
get
up
up there, and you're not really supposed to do that. You know, like jump up in the air.
Is it frowned upon or what?
No, it's just, and I say not
Is
supposed
that because
to.
the average age is like 50s or 60s and like, you can't be jumping up. I'm hitting over you.
No, I think it's mainly for control. Like Pete Sampras, I think, and it's Pete Sampras? I think he used to do that. He used to jump and slam, and that was kind of like...
People look down upon it.
No, not look down upon, but it was just like, that's unique. That's different.
Oh, okay.
You know? So, but yeah, when a ball goes up, my instinct just get as high as you can and just smack that ball as fast as you can.
Yeah.
So you're probably not. No, actually Greg Helbeck, who plays with us too. We do accountability. I just saw an accountability sheet. He wanted to play like 3 times. He said he played 6 times last week.
He's excelling. He's overachieving.
Well, he's also 26 and has the energy for that.
Yeah.
So
No kids or anything too. So
no kids.
No one's going to tell you that you can't play.
No.
Well, awesome, man. It's been super fun to have you on. Again, you've been a friend and someone that's been impactful in my business, truly, from a dollars and cents standpoint, and also just from like a mindset and an encouragement standpoint to kind of help me shift things in my business. So appreciate you for that, man. Appreciate having you on. So again, remind people like social media stuff. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, websites are the best way. realestatemasтерstv.com, tonyjavier.com. Instagram, Real Tony Javier. Not as active as I'd like to be, but if you guys follow me, I might be more inclined to post some more good stuff.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for
buddy.
having you on, and I'm sure we'll do another sometime soon.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, cool. Catch you guys later.